Hello, everybody, and a warm welcome for our Thinking Thursday group members. And today we have a wonderful speaker with us, Avril Q. I was a little curious about the Q because it's very interesting just to have a surname with just one alphabet. And of course, Q is a very powerful alphabet. So I'm really interested in knowing more about our speaker today. But let me just talk a little bit about Avril from her website. Couple of things that struck me while I was reading is the fact that she's a powerhouse voice, which you are going to actually hear her, and a supreme entertainer on stage. Interestingly, she's had an eclectic career in music and in showbiz, including a short stint even in Bollywood. She's actually performed in various countries to audiences in numbers as large as 25,000 people. So she's no stranger to the limelight. However, 15 years ago, things began to change, and the shift was rather dramatic. She was beginning to feel lonely, and the emptiness was near palpable. She believed she was now a misfit. She was no longer feeling the strong connect that she once felt with the world of showbiz. While she continued to remain in the industry to earn a living, she found herself disillusioned by the shallowness and transience of it all. Avril Q has faced nearly everything, from the abuse in the hands of the powerful to the objectification that most artists have to bear with to stay put. It was immersing herself in literature pertaining to ancient wisdom and the science of the mind that came to her rescue, and this no longer seemed like a mere escape. She was beginning to feel more grounded, and like she is now, she felt she had a purpose. Now, this is really interesting and intriguing for me to read. So I think Avril is going to talk about conscious creation. And I think it's really something that um, most people, especially in the last 2 years, have felt a lack of purpose. There's no meaning to life. They felt lost. And I think today's session is really meant for all of us, but more so for people who are possibly on a path, but they haven't found it. So, Avril, over to you, my dear.
Thank you so much, Trupti, and hello, everybody. And I'm so happy to be part of this episode of Thinking Thursdays. So first, I'll answer Trupti's question as to the Q in my name. So my surname is Quadris, and it's a little bit difficult for people to pronounce. And I just wanted it to be easy for people. And a lot of people in my friend circle call me Q. So I just decided to just keep it at that. So like Trupti was saying, I was in show business, and to cut a long story short, I thought that that was the only thing I was really good at. I was told that that's the only thing I could do in my life, and I couldn't do anything else. And this was told to me by people who I trusted, who I loved, and who loved me dearly, and who still do. So conscious creation is something that I have really embodied in my life. And if you look at the screen, it says Conscious Creation presented by CTA Coach. CTA is basically a brand that I created, which stands for conception to action. Because consciousness is only possible when you are conscious about your consciousness. And everything in the world lies within us. So I'm going to keep this presentation really simple, and I would love to engage with all of you, because I honestly believe that we are cut from the same fabric in this universe, and all of us are like a fishnet, and one leads into the other, and we're all blessed with complete, unlimited divine potential. So I'm much more eager to learn and to listen to what you have to say and share with you my experiences, because I'm not here to teach or to tell. I'm here to share, engage, and I would like all of us to grow together. So when we think of conscious creation, it's a conscious process, and most of us are on autopilot. So most of us in our lives, we are conditioned by people, things, circumstances, experiences around us. And that becomes a default for us. It becomes something that we get used to. And sometimes, even when we know better, as we grow up, since our consciousness, our conscious mind and our habits, our beliefs, our values are shaped by the time we're 7 years old, because we're absorbing everything from everybody around us. And we absorb like a sponge and we don't ask questions. So if somebody tells us, this is good, we don't question it. We believe it because it's usually told to us by our caregivers, by educators, and people we respect, or it's told to us by our religious leaders. So we accept without asking questions because till the age of 7, we're not really engaged in cognitive thinking. We're so influenced by people who are our caregivers that we, just absorb what they're saying. So as we grow older, even into young adulthood, and later on in life also, we are so used to being in a certain way that we are almost scared, or actually quite scared, inhibited, worried, anxious to lead our own life, to consciously make a decision. So in my case, I was singing and I was acting and I was doing live events and I was in Bollywood and doing my own albums and everything, right up to the age of recently. I mean, I still sing, but I did my last album about 5 years ago. But when I reached about 33, 34, I was very disillusioned. And that was more than 10 years ago. I was very disillusioned because I allowed myself to become a victim of people who I knew were not good for me. So whether that was sexual abuse, whether that was physical, emotional, mental abuse, whether it was financial abuse, I allowed myself, because I didn't have the tenacity, the awareness, the consciousness that I could actually change it. So each of us has our own story, and I think that this is not, to blame each other or to blame ourselves or to say, I wish I could, I would. These are all in the past. These are all things we can't change. But it's never too late to consciously create your own life. So this is just a little bit about me in terms of, in terms of my credentials and in terms of with what small authority am I talking about these things? So besides my own life experiences, which led me down the road of therapy and coaching and mindfulness and yoga and meditation, I think it's only fair for you to understand as to, from what experience, either academically or experientially, is this person talking to us today. Okay, so let's talk about what is conscious creation. I just like to take 30 seconds for us to just drop down into our heart, because I honestly believe that there's so much that's happened to each of us today. And if we're going to talk about conscious creation, I think it's only fair that all of us are consciously present here. And the best way to do that is to just focus on our breath for maybe about 3 to 5 breath cycles, get present in this moment, and just set an intention for today, a conscious intention as to what do you hope to manifest from this 45 minutes that we have together. And now you can just gently surrender that to the universe, to the divine, to whatever you believe is, your strength, your source of belief, your, tradition in terms of spirituality, religion. So what is conscious creation? So conscious creation is basically the how of the law of attraction. So all of us have heard about the law of attraction. The law of attraction states like attracts like. And it's very simple on the surface. But what's underneath that is that the law of attraction is a very conscious law. And when you understand that everything that you're looking for on the outside is actually within you, then you are able to seamlessly, consciously create your life. So this is something that I really like that the Buddha said. I'm not going to repeat it again because you can read it on the screen. And this is so true. So, in our ancient tradition, wisdom traditions, these have been spoken about 25, 30 centuries ago. What you think you become, what you feel you attract. What is this saying is basically that the whole universe exists inside us. So in Kundalini Yoga, we have a saying, the guru lies within. So we have manifestations of the guru, and there are so many different avatars of a guru, of an enlightened being. But we also have an internal guru because we all have the capacity to become a Buddha. And we can only do that if we are conscious about what we are, who we are, how we are, why we are. So when we're conscious about all these different facets of our life, then we have to be prepared to take that journey, because that journey is not easy, in the sense that once you make up your mind to be consciously aware of who is the real me and what is it that I really want in life. Because, happiness is such an intrinsic personal concept, but the fact is that happiness comes again from within. It's not a concept. It's not something you can buy. It's not something that's transactional. Happiness comes from within, and research has proved that when you are in a state of gratitude and when you are engaged in making someone else feel good or someone else feel happy, you actually get double the amount of happiness. And my grandmother was one of Mother Teresa's best friends. And I remember even as a baby, when Mother Teresa used to come to my grandmother's house and we would gather around her and we would chat with her. And, we were really small at that time. I think I was about 4 or 5. She made us so happy that we wanted to meet her more and more and more, because she just exuded this happiness at the risk of what she was going through, And it was difficult times for her because she was trying to get more funds for her orphanages, for her, for her different projects. And she would talk to my grandmother and we would be there, but she never, ever, ever held back when it came to giving of herself. So, and I learned from a lot of people that no matter what you're going through in life, everything has an ebb and a flow, right? So everything is a tide. It's all up and down. So never be attached to the outcome. So in my own journey, I was always consciously aware of the pitfalls, the hurdles, the challenges, the satisfaction, the happiness, the sacrifices along the way. So I learned to balance, the tough with the, the benefits with the challenges. So what are we thinking? If we just look at this one sentence of the Buddha, what are we normally thinking about? Normally, we're thinking about the same things every day. We're not thinking any new thoughts. We're either thinking thoughts about the past, which are based in regret, or, like reminiscing, like, wow, I had such a happy time. Or we're based in the future, which is full of anxiety or fear or worry or doubt. We're never actually in the present moment. And the actual magic happens when you're in the present moment. Because see, you can't consciously create in the past because the past is dead. It's over, right? And you can't consciously create in the future because we're living in a 3D reality. So the future is still not come. And if, sorry, and if we understand, if someone's unmuted, can you please mute yourselves? Because it's a bit distracting for others. Thank you so much. Okay, so what you constantly think about, you're resonating with. And conscious creation is the how of the law of attraction. For example, if I'm constantly thinking about the debt that I have, constantly I'm thinking about the debt that I have, the very fact that my resonance or my vibration, because everything is a vibration, your thoughts are vibration, your emotions are vibration. If you're constantly vibrating at the vibration of debt, which means what? You're in fear, you're in anxiety, you're in doubt, you're in extreme stress. So you become that in the sense that you become a person who is stressful, who is worried, who is anxious, who is not sure of themselves, who is constantly having doubts about the future. So basically, you become that. What you feel, you attract. For example, if you're feeling sadness, you can't hope to attract a happy person into your life, because you're feeling sadness. You'll constantly notice, and you can notice this maybe as, as quickly as after this session, what you're feeling, you'll attract from other people. For example, if you're feeling anger, you can't communicate properly with another person, so you attract anger from them, because when you're in a vibration of anger, you're going to shout, you're going to scream, you're going to yell, you're probably sometimes going to get physical. So what do you expect from the other person? That person is also going to react the same way, because like attracts like. And what we imagine, what we dream about, what we think, what we are building in mind, we create. For example, Steve Jobs imagined Apple. Shah Jahan imagined the Taj Mahal. They imagined this in their minds consciously. It was a conscious creation. So whether we are thinking positive thoughts, negative thoughts, and these are all labels which we give them, right? Because an emotion and a thought is just a messenger. It's not a death statement. It's not a final, it doesn't have any finality in it. Because with mindfulness and with conscious awareness, once you start to consciously create, you have the ability to switch your thoughts and switch your emotions in an instant. It does not take that long once you train yourself, because you understand that everything is in my control. Everything is in my control. There's nothing really that's in someone else's control. Of course, we're not talking about controlling the weather. We're not talking about, making it rain or sun or shine. We're not talking about universal control. We're talking about what is in my control. Because if you really think about it, your happiness is not based on universal, universal happenings, because your world is based on what you think and how you feel. You're not really concerned about what someone's doing in the US because it's not affecting you. But you're concerned about what's happening around you, within your house, within your office, within your locality, because that's affecting you. So if you can manage to consciously create what you want in that, like I would call it, in that stratosphere, in that arena, then you're able to kind of balance everything in your life. It's not something that we're not looking for to be happy every time, right? Happiness and sadness, joy, grief, they're all phases. They all come and go depending upon what's happening in our lives. But conscious creation is, how can I create a life with awareness, with balance, so that when things don't go my way, I'm still centered. I'm still certain. I trust myself. I know my decisions. So, I'm still certain. I understand my decisions. I'm not swayed by other people's decisions about what to do. I trust myself, and I'm able to contribute in a very wholesome way in whichever sphere I operate. So let's go through, I'm going to kind of finish up, in about 15 minutes, and then I would like to kind of engage in a Q&A with all of you. So now that we know what is conscious creation, the number one question that I get from people is, so why can't we consciously create, right? So let's talk about that, because this is going to take up at least about 15 minutes. So conscious creation depends upon a couple of things. The number one thing is everybody from, ancient Greek philosophers to our own great pundits in India have always said, know thyself. Because if you don't know who you are, then you can't consciously create, because then you're a product of someone else's conditioning, someone else's ideas, someone else's beliefs. And all of us have started out like that. Each and every person in this room, and I could be wrong, but 99.9% of people on this call have been conditioned by something, someone, some circumstance, spiritually, religiously, politically, socially, career-wise. Everyone has been influenced by somebody, and it's not always been what's our true nature. Because we are too scared to stand up for ourselves, right? We're too scared to disagree. For example, if you want to be a doctor, if you want to be a painter, and your parents have these big dreams and they've saved up a lot of money to get you into the best Ivy League university to be like this really big, financial wizard, and you go to them and you say that you want to be a painter, how many people have the gumption to do that? Not many. Because first of all, it's a lot of psychological and emotional baggage. My parents have saved so much money. What will they think? And the biggest thing is, what if I fail? What if I fail and they are right? Then it's going to be really, really heavy price to pay, because they're going to never let me forget, but we told you not to do this, you went and did it and you failed. So you've already written, your future without understanding that you can consciously create. You've already kind of written down your future and said, I don't think it's going to happen, so I'll just become a financial consultant. And this brings us to the second one. So fear is the biggest energy pollutant, because fear robs us of our true potential. And fear, again, is instilled in us. So we are born with, if I'm not mistaken, we're born with two fears. One is the fear of falling, and the other one is the fear of fire and maybe loud noises. So intrinsically, when babies are born, there are 2 or 3 fears: the fear of falling, the fear of fire, and the fear of loud noises. They have no other, we as babies don't have any other fears. So fear is the conditioned response. Fear is a conditioned response, and our parents and our caregivers, at least in my case, fear was conditioned into us for anything. If you didn't eat your food, fear was conditioned to you. If you went out and fell down and came back, it was fear was. So everything was based on fear. If you didn't stand first in class, fear was put into you. If you didn't marry the right person, fear was put into you. If you chose the wrong person, fear was put into you. So, even if sometimes you wore the wrong clothes, you would, dress up and come out of your room, and then your mother would say, oh my God, how can you wear that? Look at the way you look. And, oh my God, I don't think I look nice. Maybe I should just go and change. And you're actually thinking, I look pretty good. But then because your mom said, look at the way you look, what will the relatives say? And then you went and changed. So fear has driven us from childhood. And so it gets stuck in our energy. And because I work with people as an energy therapist and I deal with chakras and meridians, a lot of the fear is stuck in the back of the body, like our shoulders, the upper back, the lower back, and the backs of our knees. And because we can't speak up, our throat gets blocked. So a lot of people, they have a lot of throat problems. They keep getting coughs, colds. They can't speak. Some of them even have like really hoarse voices. Like their voices were never hoarse, but they began to get hoarse voices because they can't really speak. They can't come out and say what they really want to say. And that's because of fear. So I'll give you a few tips after this. You can ask me your questions based on these 12, points, and we can then address how we can overcome them. I just want to quickly go through them. The third one is letting go of your past by working through it with a professional. And why do I say working through it with a professional? Because, it's so difficult for us to do self-work on ourselves alone. 1 out of maybe 10,000 people can successfully work on themselves alone because there are so many blockages. Because when you start to journal and write down about everything that's holding you back, say fear, the lack of self-esteem, the fear of the future, or maybe, there was something that somebody said to you in your past, which kind of conditioned you to hold back and not be confident. If you write down and if you try to go through them one by one, it's like peeling an onion. So you peel the first layer and then it's the second layer and the second layer and then the third layer. And then you get confused. You don't know what to do. Where are you going? Am I doing the right thing? So a lot of people watch YouTube videos or they talk to their friends and, they kind of, get therapy from their friends. They look at self-help videos and they say, why am I not able to do this? It's because you're too close to the situation. So, like, for example, if you're drowning, it's very difficult to save somebody else who's drowning with you, right? So you really need to understand with a trained coach, mentor, therapist, whatever you call it, a psychologist, psychiatrist, what are your triggers? See, each of us has triggers. When we talk about letting go of the past, even in the present, each of us has triggers. A trigger is something that takes you back to a negative space in your mind or in your heart. So your emotions get triggered or your thoughts get triggered by an outside event, but it's triggering something inside you. Or it could be when you're thinking about the past, some incident triggers you and then you demonstrate a behavior in the present. And they're not complementary in the sense that they always tend to be undesirable. The fourth thing is, very few of us understand that everything that we need is within us. So when you would go to a professional, whether it's a therapist, a counselor, or whoever it is, right? That person is only a conduit. That person is only a vessel. That person is only a tool to show you what you can't see. Because nobody can be the full potential that you are. You are full potential, but you can't see it. So that person is a guide, a conduit, an angel, whatever you want to call, that person. But you have to understand that everything you need to be a conscious creator, to take your life to the next level, you already have. The tools, the intelligence, the emotional bandwidth, the spirituality of your higher self is already there in you. Somebody just has to show it to you, give you the confidence, and help you to make that transition. The fifth one is really very important, intentionality. So a lot of people who mentors and coaches and psychiatrists and therapists work with, some of them are not successful with these clients. Why? Because the client doesn't have the intentionality. So intentionality, it means putting your intention into the universe. Like just now when we dropped into our hearts, we took 5 deep breaths, we set an intention and then we let it out into the universe. We need to do that every day to be intentional. What is the person I want to be? Where do I see myself in 6 months? Can I let go of this trauma of the past? Can I move forward? Can I really be intentional about my spiritual, mental, physical, psychological growth? Until there is no, it's like setting a goal, right? I want to make 10 lakhs a month. If you can set a goal, a financial goal, don't you think it's more important to set a goal for your own self as a spiritual divine being? So intentionality is very important. The sixth one, everybody has said many things about this, be present and be grateful. Because anything that happens consciously can only happen now, here, in this moment. And as I'm saying this, the moment is gone, right? So in this moment is the only place that you can consciously create. You can't in the past, you can't in the future. The past is dead and the future you're anticipating. The only place is to be present and to be grateful. So when I talk about gratitude, I give people simple things like, when you wake up in the morning, just put your hand on your heart and say, thank you for this day. Thank you for my first breath, because we could have died in the night. There's no guarantee, right? Like, the Buddha also said that, your life is like a bubble. It can burst anytime. So when I get up in the morning, the first thing I do is I just put my hand on my heart and I say, thank you for this first breath. And then, give gratitude for something, the pillow you slept on, the quilt you used, the fresh water that you can brush your teeth with, simple things, not lofty things, not to wait for something fantastic to happen in your life. But when you have gratitude for mundane, simple, everyday things, that opens your consciousness up, because then it also makes you more aware. Quieten your mind is simply to meditate. 3-minute meditations, 2-minute meditations. Meditation doesn't need to be really, a very deep meditation, something analytical or object or vipassana meditation. People get really scared of, meditations, because people are saying, when I say quieten your mind, I don't mean quieten your mind where there are no thoughts. I'm saying just bring it to a place where you're in the present moment and you're aware of the thoughts. They're coming, they're going, they're coming, they're going, and you're fine with it. You're not judging it. So that's what I mean by quieten your mind, because it's impossible for us at this time in our lives, if we're not very spiritually advanced, to actually have no thoughts, because the nature of the mind is to think. So, and we think of mundane things, right? We're not thinking about, something that's going to solve world peace, not all of us. Or we're not thinking about a new invention. We're thinking basically worrisome thoughts. It's simple things like, what am I going to cook today? I have to go to the ATM, at 2:00 in the afternoon. Simple things, right? So quieten the mind. So this is a simple tip. Whenever a thought comes into your mind, I always say, thank you for sharing, but I choose to be present now. So you're telling the thought, thank you for sharing. You're acknowledging the thought, you're not ignoring it. And then you're making a conscious decision, but I choose to be present in this moment. And as you do that, you'll notice more space between your thoughts. And as you meditate more and more, you'll notice that your intuition increases. That gut feeling, like people always say, I had a feeling, yeah, that this would happen. Or like men will say, I have a gut feeling. But women will say, nahi yaar, mujhe maloom tha, I was feeling it. Yeah, no, I was feeling it. That was only the thing. But they didn't do it because there was doubt. So learn, even if you make a few mistakes, start with small things. If you get an intuition or feeling about something, go with it. Start with something small that's not going to have any major repercussions. Something is small, and then the more and more and more you start to quieten your mind, meditate, the more your intuition increases, because there's no jabber going on in the mind. This kacha, 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 all that is not there. Thoughts jostling for space, and you can't think and you don't know, because your intuition doesn't come from your mind, it comes from your heart. And the heart is much more powerful in terms of conscious creation than the mind, because the magnetic field of the heart is 10,000 times more than the mind. So whenever you want to send people love, you don't send people love and you don't touch your head and send people love. You touch your heart. When people hug, why do they feel good? Because the heart centers are meeting. Mothers rock their children near their breast because feel of the heart. So the Anahata chakra, which is both a front face and a back face, is very powerful because it's constantly sending out love, light, radiance. The next thing is to visualize. And I know a lot of people tell me we can't visualize. So then you just take some pictures and put them on your computer. What do you want your life to be like? Make a collage. Now you have, you have tools like Canva, and you have another tool which is very good. It's called Mime Movies. You can make your own movie of and really get into it, feel it. Imagine that you're in that movie and it's actually happening. So this is training yourself to consciously create, right? And the next thing is to have patience. And I work with a lot of young people, and they come back and they say after 2 weeks, I tried it, it's not working. 2 weeks. That's nothing when you look at the bigger picture, right? Because we're so used to everything being on an app. You want food, you call up, you book it on Swiggy. You want something from the chemist now comes home. You want something, your servant does it for you. So everything, is instant. So we have lost the art of patience. For us, patience, that's why people can't meditate. They can't be silent because they're like, now what am I supposed to do? Because you're so used to stimulation all the time. The next one is expect only the best. And it's a bit funny when I say, when I tell people expect only the best, because a lot of people are like, I'm sick, I'm suffering, I have to go for surgery, and you're telling me expect only the best. But last year in 2021, I had a very bad reaction to the vaccine. And I landed up in hospital, and nobody knew what was happening to me for about 2 weeks. And I had to have an angiogram, and my feet began swelling up, and they thought something was wrong with my heart. I was having dysentery all the time. My hormones shut down. I couldn't function properly. I put on 10 kilos in like 1 month, and I wasn't even eating. And people were like all around me. Everyone was worried. And even at that time, I just said one thing to myself. I choose to consciously be well. My body is a wellness machine, and I choose to do wellness. I kept saying this over and over and over and over again. And today, I'm almost back to normal. Though I have taken yoga therapy, I'm on homeopathy. I do a lot of energy, work with myself. I'm, do a lot of meditation, and I take, certain, hormones. But it was a conscious decision for me to be well. So when I tell people that, I'm not just saying it because I haven't experienced it. I've experienced it when you don't know what's happening, and when you feel that you're going to die, and when your heart develops irregularities and it's not beating, it's very scary. So in the middle of one of those heart episodes, my heart was, it's called ischemia. So your heart beats regularly, and then it skips a beat, and then it stops, and then it beats. And it was so scary for me because I'd never experienced anything. And in that time, I thought, I choose to be the conscious creator of my health. My body only does wellness. It only does health. I command my body to get well. I said this every time I woke up, when I was in the toilet, I was showering, I was, doing whatever. I always repeated this 1,000 times a day. In my meditations, I would visualize me healthy, happy, glowing, running, jumping, dancing. And the last one is inspired action. So taking the last example, I took inspired action. Somebody told me you need to go and see a hormone specialist. You need to take certain hormones. You need to go do Ayurveda. I took the action. I didn't just visualize and say, oh, I choose, I want, I must, I did. But I took the action, and taking action is very difficult. That's why I branded myself as a conception to action coach. See, because we can conceive an idea. So Shah Jahan thought about the Taj Mahal, right, when he was imprisoned. But if he only conceived it and didn't take the steps through conscious creation to make it happen, he didn't take the action, we would not have one of the 7 wonders or the 8 wonders of the world, right? So I think that it's very important for us to take action. So these are the 12 things that are the most important to be a conscious creator of your life. So I'm just going to leave this on the screen if anybody wants to get in touch with me later. But I'm very open to taking any questions and engaging with you and discussing with you and debating with you. So Trupti, I will hand it back to you. And yeah, let's see what happens.
Thank you, Avril. It was wonderful. I think the 12 steps that you've given us really makes a lot of sense, especially the inspired action part.
Yes.
I think Sri Lakshmi was talking before we started.
Yes.
And, I was just thinking about her when you said inspired action, because she took action And I think that's one of the reasons she's now shining on stage. So I think it's really wonderful. So friends, any questions for Avril? Anybody ask anything? Yeah, let's just put our hands up. Let's just put our hands up. Hold on, please. I want hands to go up so that I can say the name and then you can ask the question. Okay, unmute yourself when I say your name, please. Okay, Nitin, please can you go ahead? Please unmute and ask.
Hi, Avril. Yeah, I hope I'm audible.
Yes, you are.
Right. So yeah, thanks for the session. See, I understand like what we have become today is based on the experiences that we had, and I experienced it today that body has become full of emotions, feelings, and sometimes we operate just out of body from our
Yeah.
feelings. So my question is like I have been practicing this breath work. You mentioned that you need a help of a coach to get released, to release the past, to release those feelings. So I have been doing this transcendental breath work,
Yeah.
and I do feel that it does help me in releasing some of the emotions. But while I'm doing it, there are instances when I feel, for example, if I'm trying to release anger, so you will have experiences where you feel so my question is two questions. One is when you're trying to release, all these feelings. So is it that you go to places where you feel all these feelings, with more, more strongly? And second is how do we get rid of these feelings apart from the work? You mentioned about other things. Is there something I can do more, to release and then I can start creating more consciously?
Okay, so I couldn't really hear all of what you said because I think there's a lag because you're traveling. But I heard what you said, that you do breath work and you're able to release some
Right.
negative emotions and some are able to do it completely. And the second question I did not get. So if I can get both the questions, I can answer them together.
Yeah. So second was like, what else can I do? So you mentioned a
Okay.
few points,
Yeah.
but apart from breath work, obviously visualization. So I'm trying to do other things as well. I think you already mentioned in your slide, in your slide, what other things you can do.
Yeah.
But I'm primarily right now focused on the breath work.
Got it. Okay. So I'm not too sure what kind of breath work you're doing. Are you doing intentional pranayama or are you doing breath work as taught by Western practitioners? Because there is a difference. Are you doing Wim Hof breathing? I don't know what you're doing, but to answer your,
The one I'm doing is from the Pyramid Valley. There is a Shreyans Daga Foundation. So they teach this transcendental breath work. So
got
it's
it.
a half an hour conscious breathing where you try to breathe continuously for half an hour, and then another half an hour you just go into silence to just get rid of those emotions. So it's like welling up by breathing, just welling up, focusing on those emotions, and then releasing it consciously.
Okay, so what I would suggest to you to do is you're already getting into an alpha state, or maybe even you're getting into a low grade theta state when you're doing this breath work, right? Don't intentionally want to experience something. Let the experiences happen organically, and then you'll be guided as to what you need to release. So that could be one way of it. Because when you drive your consciousness in a particular direction, you have to understand that your subconscious is much more intelligent and powerful than your conscious mind. It drives everything. So if you're just free flowing and if you surrender in that alpha theta state to what's coming up, then you can take action on that. Then you got to decide, can I work on this issue on my own, or do I need a trained therapist, a coach, a mentor, whatever, to guide me through this so that it becomes easier for me to unravel this? The other thing that I would normally give you off the cuff in terms of another practice, I'm a huge believer in the Ho'oponopono technique. So you can look it up. It's by Dr. Len. It's if you just do Ho'oponopono, if you Google it, it's just 4 sentences. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me and thank you. And these are basically for self-healing. It's you talking to your subconscious mind to release what needs to be released. See, sometimes we can't really consciously understand what we are releasing, but your measure of success will be dictated by the fact that, are you feeling better? Are those emotions dissolving? And sometimes, Nitin, when emotions are dissolving, it's like an antibiotic. They get worse before they become better. So that's why I say it's good to work with a trained professional, because they can guide you as to, because sometimes people get scared. I thought I was supposed to feel better with this, but it's actually making me feel worse. So that's the reason why I was talking about that. But try these two things, and then you can reach out and let me know if it works for you. Does that help you?
Yeah, definitely it helps. In fact, I'm using self-talk as well. So affirmations, I've recorded self-talk. So I do believe that, it is helping me. But sometimes when things get worse, as you rightly said, I can also, the only problem is I don't have any specific issue. It is just that, I'm just trying to make myself better. So yeah, but definitely I can be in touch. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you. All the best.
Thanks, Nitin. And let's have Prakriti. Prakriti, you've raised your hand. Please ask your question.
Good evening, Trupti ma'am. Good evening, Avril and everyone. My question is that how do we distinguish between fear and intuition? Because many times I'm not able to distinguish whether it's a gut feeling, fear, or it's the intuition. And second question is, like Avril talked about Ho'oponopono to the participant just before me. So, do we do Ho'oponopono with ourselves for get rid of the past?
Okay, thank you, Prakriti, for your question. So let me answer the first question. How to distinguish between fear and intuition? So fear will come when there's doubt. So when you can try this. This is the way I kind of do it, and the way I teach my clients or my people who I work with. So whenever you want to know something, right? Get out of your head and get into your heart. You can even place your hands on your heart to activate your heart chakra, and just ask the question. What is the question that you want to ask? Ask and wait. Don't expect anything. Just wait. The first thing that pops into your mind is divine guidance and intuition. Immediately, it will be followed by another thought, and that's fear or self-doubt. Because it's the conscious mind trying to protect you, because it's not sure whether you're resonating at the right level. But the first thing that comes is usually your intuition. And it takes practice, Prakriti. So you might have a few hits and misses. But like anything in life, if you want to learn a sport also, you have to practice. So try with something small. But the main thing is to quieten your mind, because when you quieten your mind, your intuition opens up, because intuition comes from the heart space. And also you will have a certain feeling in the body. So, when you are in the right space and when you're guided by intuition, your body feels light, easy. Your solar plexus, which is below the heart, it's more open. So you can try that, and you can let me know whether that works for you. The second thing, you can release a lot of emotional, mental, and any kind of past baggage with Ho'oponopono. It's quite miraculous. So you say your name after each sentence. So I love you with your name. I love you, Prakriti. I'm sorry, Prakriti. Please forgive me. Thank you. So use your name after each sentence. And another thing with Ho'oponopono that I use with people I work with, whenever you're saying these sentences, don't just say them, because a lot of people say this, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. It doesn't work. You're again on autopilot. When you say it with your name and you say it, I love you, Prakriti. I'm sorry, Prakriti. Please forgive. There will be something that's getting triggered. Try doing it in front of the mirror. Because, mirror work, which was pioneered by, the inimitable Louise Hay, is so powerful. Because so many of my clients, when I tell them, look at yourself in the mirror and look into your eyes and say, I love you, Prakriti, they can't do it. Because we've always been taught that self-love is indulgent, it's wrong, put others before you. So when you start doing this Ho'oponopono practice in front of the mirror, even if it's for 1 minute a day, look into your eyes and say this with your name. Write down in a journal, keep a journal next to you and write down what sentence is triggering a feeling, a thought. because you always experience emotions through feelings in the body. That's the only way you know, right? Your emotions are experienced through feelings. I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling happy, right? So you write that down. So I hope this would help you. And if it doesn't, let me know and I'll be too happy to help you even more.
No, no, both my questions have been answered so convincingly. Thank you so much. Just one thing, that this Ho'oponopono we should do for one issue, no, at a time.
Not necessarily, Prakriti. No, I do Ho'oponopono for at least 4 issues every day. I wake up in the morning, and after I put my hand on my heart and give thanks and find one thing to be grateful for, I just find one thing to be grateful for, because I look for really small things, you know. So I just find one thing, and then I do a meditation for 1 hour. And then as I'm doing my work every day, I'm doing Ho'oponopono as and when. So I'll do it for, you know, for maybe for 10 minutes for this, for 10 minutes for this. So there's no fixed rule. Try what works for you. Don't mix up the issues in one, you know, when you're saying, supposing you're saying it for healing of your body. So the way I would say it is, I love you, my precious body. I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. I would say it like that. Or you know, when I do a lot of healing for my heart. So I would say, I love you, my beautiful heart. I love you. You know, so do it for one thing like that. But there's no limit that you can only do one thing per day. Nothing like that.
Okay. Thank you again. Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Prakriti. And let's have Tina now. Tina, you've raised your hand.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Am I audible?
Yes, Tina, go ahead, ask your question.
Yeah, first of all, I really loved the session. Two things I took it from is like you can always say thanks for sharing thought, and then I choose to be present. Yeah, one of my first question is that like this fear really cripples me. Like I wish to have a car and drive it, which I would use to drive like 17 years back, but I don't know. I have the money. I can buy a car now, but this fear is not letting me take an action. Every time I think of, I think that is fear is stuck in my mind, that I will not be able to drive, or I'll meet with an accident. I don't know, this fear has gotten so much into my mind that I have tried even Ho'oponopono, just a plane is going over.
Hello?
Yeah.
Tina, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still there. A plane was flying overhead.
Okay, continue.
Okay. Yeah, so this fear is not letting me take action, as I have learned from this session. And my second question is main, that I learned so many tools to heal myself. I've done Ho'oponopono, I've done EFT, I've done affirmation, Louise Hay work, but I'm not able to stick to it. I keep on jumping from like one modality to another modality, then I don't practice it. So I'm in a lurch always. Like now, this is my issue. What should I practice? I have not done full that. I have not done full that. So these are my two main issues which are concerning me. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. So Tina, the first thing is the fear, right? So fear is basically an anticipated scenario in our minds, that it's a story that we are making up. I'll meet with an accident. I won't be able to drive. So you have driven a few years ago, so you know how to drive technically. But now you're stuck in a rut where you're second guessing yourself. So how do you get out of that? The first thing is to rationalize the fear, right? So when you rationalize the fear, when you think about the story, the first thing to think about is, has the accident happened? Do you know for certain that you're going to meet with the accident? You don't, right? There's no certainty that you know for certain that if I drive the car, you know, when you're thinking about doing something, you're playing it out in your mind, right? So you're seeing yourself driving, you know, so it's like a movie in your mind. Am I right? You're visualizing it, right? That I'm driving, I might meet with an accident. And so you stop yourself. So the first thing to think about is, what if I don't meet with an accident? What if I just drive down the lane? What if I just get into the car, start the ignition, press the clutch and the brake and change the gear? What if I just reverse and park back in my garage? Small steps, Tina, small steps. Because when you validate yourself with success, with small steps, then you will be able to go. So don't think about driving long distances or I'll meet with an accident. Just say thank you for sharing, but I'm going to try to just sit in the car and start the car today. Start with small steps. The second thing is, because the only way to, see, you can't conquer fear. None of us are fearless. The opposite of fear is courage. It's not fearlessness, because everyone has got fear to some degree in them. So people who are, even people who have done career, fought battles, and, like when you look at people like Bhagat Singh and even, Mahatma Gandhi, they all had fear, but they were courageous. They acted in spite of fear. So you have to just be courageous. And courageous means taking the first step. So just think about taking one step. Okay?
Okay.
The second thing is, see, we may have a lot of knowledge, but if we don't stick with one method and implement it for at least 30 to 45 days, we are not going to know whether it's working or not. So you need to implement, so choose a practice that you've had the most success with. So out of all the practices, Louise, hey, this thing, that thing, EFT, Ho'opono, choose one practice where you've had this, the most significant success, but you gave it up for some reason. Start with that. And do it for at least 2 to 3 weeks, at least 21 days, do it. And don't do it with the mindset of, "Arey, ye past mein hua tha, I was not successful in the past, abhi malum nahi if it's going to work." No, remember, conscious creation. So intentionality, set the intention. This time it's going to be different. I consciously choose to do EFT for this issue. Consciously. And see how it goes.
Oh, wow, wonderful. I will definitely try this car thing and this EFT thing. It has always worked for me.
Great. See, you're already saying it's always worked for me. Congratulations.
Yes, always. Yeah, but I stop in it between once the issue is over and then I just leave everything.
Okay, all the best.
Thank you.
Tina.
It was
And now we have Rahul.
Thank you,
Rahul, you want to ask a question? Please go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Avril, for the lovely talk. I had a very simple question now. Like you mentioned that this is about consciously creating something. So that would be connected with the future. So are we deferring our happiness somewhere for the future, and somewhere we are acknowledging that we are incomplete in the present moment?
Thank you, Rahul. It's a wonderful question. When we are saying we're consciously creating, we can only consciously create in the present. So yes, you do have a point. You're consciously creating in the present for a better future, but you're not really jumping into the future and time traveling into the future, because you can only consciously create in this present moment. So what is speaking to you now? So for example, if you have a vision, to serve, or let's make it simple. If you have a vision to drop 10, to release 10 kgs, you're consciously decided you're going to do that, but you're consciously creating every action, every thought, every intention in this moment, because you can't time travel into the future. But if you consciously create in this moment, and now the moment is over, but you're consciously creating in each moment. So you're not deferring your happiness, because when you're consciously creating in the moment, the conscious creation you can only do with the mindset of being happy and satisfied. You can't do it from a space of lack or anticipation.
So motivation won't come from lack, the feeling of lack. I mean, as in that a little bit of dissatisfaction with the present.
No, when you learn to consciously create, Rahul, it will be from a space of acceptance and forgiveness, because you're absolutely right. When you are feeling that lack or regret about, something that hasn't yet happened and will it happen, that's not conscious creation. So you have to be able to forgive, to let go, like it said in one of those 12 points, let go, be present in the moment, and be grateful that you're even consciously creating, because so many people can't do it. So
Okay,
be grateful.
Basically letting go is like creating a space for the future.
Absolutely. Because, you can't fill a glass you can't fill a clean glass of water if there's sediment at the bottom of the glass.
True. Absolutely true.
So what we want to do is we want to let go of that, wash that glass out, and then slowly, consciously start filling up that glass again.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome, Rahul.
Thank you, everybody. I think everybody's asked their questions. So Avril, so much for being here. And I think it was a wonderful talk and people have taken a lot from it. So thank you so much for coming in to our group. And we are always happy to welcome interesting speakers, guests like you who want to share with so many of our group members. So if there's anything else ever you'd like to talk about
Definitely.
next year, in the new year rather.
Yes, yes, I would love to. And I just wanted to say thank you. And I wanted to just make a special mention because one of my things is paying things forward. Number one, I would want to thank my friend Sharmila, who's part of this group. She's my sister in Dharma. And she, said, I'm going to introduce you to a very dynamic person, Dr. Dr. Trupti. And it's wonderful to meet you, Trupti, because your energy is so amazing. And you were the first lady who spoke. You're making people's lives better, you're empowering them, you're helping them. I came for one session, a happiness session, and I remember Shakuntala very well on the session because she asked a few questions. And I just want to send out a lot of love, light, and metta. So if you wouldn't mind in just, sending out whatever merit you've created, sending it out to people who need it. And, wishing goodness for every single person in this universe so that they can benefit in some way, in terms of, the ripple effect in the universe. So if you can just for 30 seconds, just put your hand on your heart and just say thank you and just dedicate the merit for yourself and for every single person, every single sentient being on this planet. I'm sending all of you lots of love, light, and metta. And I just wanted to share one small thing with you that when I was consciously coming into this and I wanted to consciously create, a number of people to come on this call, I was like, I would like to consciously create like 48 people on this call. It was just a conscious intention that I put out into the universe, 40 or more people. So one more tip, whenever you're consciously creating, you want to consciously create something, don't make it an end sentence, like a final sentence. So you can say, I consciously choose to create this or something better, this or more, because the universe wants to give us so much, but we don't feel worthy of receiving. So this or more, this or something much better, this or something much better for my highest good. So on that happy note, I wish all of you a marvelous, spiritual, blissful, conscious, creative to 2023. And thank you, Dr. Trupti, and thank you each and every one.
Thank you so much.
And
thank you, everybody. Thank you, Avril, and thank you, everybody, for being here. And like she rightly said, a part of what we have, we need to share with others. A little bit of credit that we get, if we can share it with others, I think the world can be a beautiful place. So